Republicans are reaching back to Reagan's starve the beast technique, break the government and then say, oh, it's broken, we need to privatize this, with all kinds of things right now. It's on steroids. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our channel. Here we have GOP policy, you know, from the two Santa Clauses policy to the so-called starve the beast policy. Reagan's starve the beast was pretty straight up. Right, the two Santa Clauses was spend like drunken sailors, run up the debt, give tax breaks, and then when Democrats come into office, scream about the debt and demand that they cut spending, which has largely worked. Clinton did that. He ended welfare as we know it. He destroyed large pieces of Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, and he balanced the budget. And, you know, Obama was willing to actually cut Social Security, but he was stopped by a lot of outrage, but he was willing to go with a chain CPI. That Republican strategy has been running since 1977, and it still works. But the starve the beast one is even more amazing. That is where you start laying off government workers to the point where government agencies no longer work. And Trump has been really at the top of the pile with this. He's laid off over 20,000 people who work for Social Security and Medicare. And now they want people to have to renew their Social Security disability benefits every 6 months instead of, on average, every 2 years, with fewer people to process them, which is going to cause a lot of people, and people are, you know, in fact, I saw a thread on a message board over the weekend where somebody was complaining about how confusing Medicare is. Well, especially if you look at the Medicare Advantage programs. Oh, free dental, free eye, free vision, but, you know, if you get sick, we can throw you off the policy. There's a huge deductible if you go in for surgery. I mean, it's like, all, you know, there's all these scams out there. But to make it even worse, keep in mind, in the United States, right now, 54 million American families have somebody with an explicit and well-known pre-existing condition. They're already diabetic. They already have heart disease. They already have, you know, something that would disqualify them from even buying health insurance. 54 million American families. And there's probably another 50 million who, with a little bit of digging, the insurance companies could discover a pre-existing condition or a lifestyle choice or something like that. And I put that in quotes because they're throwing things like obesity into that category, and I'm not sure it's a choice in most cases. But in any case, if the Affordable Care Act were to be canceled and we were to go back to insurance where pre-existing conditions aren't covered, about a third of Americans would be just totally screwed, maybe as many as half. Now, the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit along with, there was a group of Republican governors and states attorney general, every single one of them Republican states. But it was 20-some-odd states. I mean, it was a bunch of states. The Republican governors and their attorneys general, they filed a lawsuit asking that Obamacare be declared unconstitutional. The Department of Justice joined them. They wrote a front-of-the-court brief to go along with it. Bill Barr's, although back then it was Jeff Sessions' Department of Justice. And a lower court ruled, sure enough, Obamacare is unconstitutional. The whole law has to get thrown out. And Americans appealed the case and said, no, let's take this to the Supreme Court. And so it's now before the Supreme Court. So Friday, right after I got off the air, Bill Barr sent a note to the Supreme Court saying, why don't you hear this case after the elections? You no need to hear this case this year. Hear this case next year. Because what's this case going to do? It's going to strike down Obamacare. No more protection against against pre-existing conditions, which is going to throw even more Americans into poverty because when they get sick and they have no health insurance, they're going to, a $30,000 hospital bill for 1 or 2 nights in the hospital. Try that without health insurance. This is what the Republicans want. They want a country that is uneducated, poor, terrified, and angry, so that then they can come along. Russell Kirk laid this out in his book, The Conservative Mind, all the way back in 1951, so that the Republicans can come along and say to the American people, you are poor, you are screwed, you are being taken advantage of, and guess what? It's black people who are doing it to you, if they're talking to a white audience. Or it's Hispanics and immigrants who are doing it to you, if they're talking to a black audience. Or it's gay people doing it, or it's, just fill in the blank, right? It's Muslims. It's all their fault. There's always, it's all about pointing, and if you think I'm exaggerating, spend about 4 hours watching Fox News. This is played out literally every day on Fox News and on right-wing hate radio.